This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them, the right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome to the Dogs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Renaker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
Hey, what's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. We are doing another Dog Pack Discord episode to preview the Saints game on Sunday. We are coming out of the bye week, so obviously we had no Discord show last week, no game to preview, but we're back. The Browns are back, 2-7, going against the Saints, 3-7. It's the heavyweight matchup of who wants to suck the most. So we will dive into that game here on this episode. We'll bring people up on stage, get some questions in, and chat and everything. But before we do, I just want to remind everybody, follow us on all the socials at the Dogs Podcast. And if you want to join the Discord episodes like this, you want to be part of the Dog Pack, head to jointhedogs.com, become an official Dog Pack member. That syncs you up to the private Discord. Get in on those 24/7 conversations that are happening every day, all day long, all throughout the week, and especially on game days, because we always talk about the Monday therapy session. You could have that not just on Monday, but you could have it on Sunday during the game, and then just all week long. So it's a great place to be. Jointhedogs.com. Become an official Dog Pack member. I told these guys, by the way, it's Josh, it's Justin, it's Kenny Mac. We don't have Blake tonight, but shout out to Blake and Kenny. You guys did a great What's Trending episode that just came out this morning. That was some good stuff, talking about Jed Wills and Kevin Stefanski's future and all that kind of stuff. My voice is totally shot. I've been sick all week, so podcast listeners, viewers, if you guys haven't seen or heard from me in like 2 weeks almost, that's why I am struggling to get through this, but I'm going to do my best. You guys can bear with me, but I'll let these two gentlemen do a lot of the talking tonight. So what do you guys want to dive into for the Saints game?
For anyone, man.
All right, man. Well, hey, I mean, it's a week back at it. We're getting ready to sign up for, another Sunday of fun Browns football. But like you said, Josh, two teams that are both underperforming, that probably had better expectations of what their season was going to go like heading into this year. The Saints, they kind of confused me, man. When I watched them at the beginning of the year, I was like, man, this looks like a team that could be really, really tough. A legitimate playoff team. Defense looked good. Offense scoring a lot of points. They're blowing teams out. And then they kind of went through a weird little rut. Derek Carr, he gets hurt. They really, really spiral, and go out of, really go down in flames on that. They kind of bounced back last week against Atlanta. But for me, I feel like they still feel like they had a little bit of fight. Obviously, the Browns are going to say they got some fight left, but even though we're mathematically still in it, I don't think there's a lot to be played for as far as, maybe there isn't that locker room. Maybe I'm, reading it wrong, but I think, this is a prove-it game, I guess, as far as, like, let's see if the locker room so bought into what these guys are talking about. If they come out and they look like a competitive football team, or at least competent, and it's fun, we're scoring some points, I'm here, but if it's the same old just broken offense and just penalties and all that, man, it's going to be another long 4 hours of football on Sunday.
I mean, the Browns had 2 weeks to figure something out, and basically talking with Blake yesterday, obviously there's big things and there's small things, but I mean, my understanding is that the little things that they're going to figure out are going to lead to big things on the field. So if it's just that extra second blocking, if it's just maybe adding a couple more plays of something that the guys like or are trending in a good direction on the field, I think that's going to make a huge difference in this game. If you take a look at our team, I mean, across the board on defense, we're still stacked. You guys still believe in Schwartz. And I think they can really control that line of scrimmage with our defensive line, regardless of who's on the opposite side of Miles. And I think the game really comes down the linebacker position for us because we have to control Kamara. He's their leading receiver and he's their leading rusher. If you can take him out, that's a lot more one-dimensional. And I was just trying to take a look, haphazardly put it, how do you stop Alvin Kamara in the internet? And article came up from the Kansas City Chiefs. And what do you think the first thing they said? Stop Alvin Kamara. I can't remember if they're averaging just 57 yards or allowing 57 yards a game, or they let him just have 57 yards when they played. But that was a big thing that they did, and they made Derek Carr one-dimensional. And he had some turnovers, so they dominated the game. I mean, obviously, if you take a look at them, they're a way better team. But, I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs kind of let everybody into the game. So that being said, they did what they needed to do. They actually neutralized their big four. And their big four across the board, you're looking at Derek Carr and Kamara on the offense, and then you're looking at Demario Davis and Honey Badger. Those guys, they can't be involved. Those guys are going to make the team win. But let's take a look at the offense. Like Justin, in what you've seen in the first 9 games, what do you think the Browns, maybe is there going to be a wrinkle? Is there going to be something different that the Browns do this game versus the Saints?
I mean, I hope so. I really do. I just don't trust our offense. Honestly, when it comes down to it, I don't know what I'm getting week to week. I don't know the product. And I mean, we're halfway through the season. We're coming out of a bye week. This should be a finished, polished, completely flawless running machine at this point, or at least we're heading that direction, heading towards the playoffs. And I still to this day have questions about what our identity is. We don't really run the ball at all. So teams know that we're not going to run the ball. And then when we do run the ball, we can't run the ball where it's actually productive. We're getting blown up at the line, and, they're getting a push back into the, guys are getting blown up in the backfield, basically. Would I like to see us air it out? Because I think we have something nice in Cedric Tillman, and I think the league, and the league thinks that too. He's really emerged. But if you look at all the other guys too, Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore, they're still getting targets when things, when we're throwing the ball around. And it's just, I just don't want us to be so predictable that we know we're going to throw 40 to 50 times,
Well, and that's what you have to do against Derek Carr, because ultimately with Derek Carr, he's going to audibilize into something, and that's how he gets all these fourth quarter wins, right? He has a ton. And if you can disguise what you're doing on defense, that's a big thing. I like what you said about don't know what we're getting. What we need to get this week is we need to get a running game, because they're crap. They're not very good against the run. And that's really what I want to see. This line has been together now for 2 weeks. It should have been together all year, but injuries are a thing. And this is a week off. And I was just listening to the Philadelphia Eagles just before Thursday Night Football here. Sat down on their bye week, and they said, what do we do really good? Now, that's going to be a tough thing, because exactly what you said. Fans don't know. Is it a good product? Pundits don't know. We're all scratching our heads. So, I mean, are we going back to next year? Like, what are we doing?
Right.
I'm hoping it's Chubb and it's a lot of running. And I don't know if we need this. I'm going to put this out there. Do we try and figure out a fullback with somebody on the team and so we can get a couple extra yards? So instead of going 2 yards, Chubb getting 3-4 yards now. I don't know. That would be maybe, I don't even know if you would call it a wrinkle. It's going back to basics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of tough to put a fullback out there a lot of times when you're running most of your run plays out of the shotgun in this Ken Dorsey offense. But, one thing I wanted to mention, the Saints just traded Marshawn Lattimore to Washington, one of their best defenders. So he's not there anymore. But they did just fire Dennis Allen, their head coach, a couple weeks ago. And, everybody talks about that first game or so back from or after a team fires their head coach, usually there's a little bit of a, I don't know, an in the locker room surge from the players, and they play a little harder for that new interim guy. And a lot of times the team will win that next game. Now, this is the second game after they fired him, because last week they did go out and get a win against the Falcons. And that was their first win, like you guys said, since the first 2 weeks of the season. They were on a 7-game skid, come out and win a game after they fire their head coach. And now they get us coming off a bye. So can we take advantage, Kenny? I love what you're saying. I mean, this team gives up a ton of yards on defense. So, I mean, we can go out there and put up the yards. We just have to limit the stupid turnovers and the dumb, pre-snap penalties and all that kind of stuff, the mental errors.
There's a good point that you brought up there too. Every time that you have a big emotional win, there's a letdown the next week. And we let down big time after our big emotional win over the Ravens. And I can kind of see that. Ultimately, if you take a look across what's happened with them, is they started off hot, like Justin was mentioning. But then if you look down their lineup, I'll just pull up their depth chart right now.
Oh, dude.
You got a ton of guys on IR.
Dude.
Like, ultimately, like after Alvin Kamara, they just signed Valdez-Scantling, like we were saying. Like, I mean, is he really going to go for another 3 catches for 100 yards, 2 touchdowns? Then you got Cedric Wilson and Mason Tipton as starters. Cedric Wilson's got a shoulder injury, and he's questionable. So that means you're putting Jermaine Jackson in there. And I'm not really... I don't even really know who these guys are, and there's no disrespect to them. I'm not a Saints fan, and they're just not popping out with me. The only other thing that we can't have happen is we can't make a star out of Taysom Hill, man. I don't want to see what happened last week, where it's just or last 2 years ago when we played them. They came down and they just bloodied their nose a little bit more than us and ran us over. Can't have that either.
No, I'm with you, Kenny. I think you brought up a lot of great points there just now. As far as their depth chart, man, you're talking about their game changers. They're all gone. Like Chris Olave, I'm pretty sure he's still teetering on whether he's going to go into IR, but they're saying, he's possibly out the rest of the season. Maybe potentially, like, his concussions have been so bad the last couple of weeks that it might be a situation where he's really thinking about walking away. Shaheed also blown his knee out. I think it was 2-3 weeks ago. What you said about MVS, though, I thought was interesting, because for me, I see him almost taking over that Shaheed role. Like, he's that Derek Carr's good for a couple deep balls a game, where he's just going to blow the top off. I think that MVS is going to be that role, but like you said, I don't know if you can depend on that, 2 touchdowns. I mean, it worked for Shaheed for a lot of weeks, until pretty much Derek Carr went down. But no, I think great points. But yeah, depth-wise on offense, they are devastated. You literally are talking about Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill, and then they have Derek Carr back. But sure, I mean, they are, like you said, you're talking about guys that Mason Tipton just got in the league. We were talking about, would he come to Cleveland as an undrafted free agent? Or even if we, maybe got in real late, but I'm pretty sure it ended up being, he went on UDFA.
Yeah.
But they are at the bottom of their depth chart.
Yep. They are really banged up. And I mean, this is a great opportunity if the Browns want to get a third win. And I know Blake keeps saying it a lot, and I don't disagree with him. After this game, I don't really see a whole lot of games that I would, actually, I don't see any games that I would circle as, this is one the Browns could get. Because, and what is it? Steelers, Broncos,
Steelers, Denver. I mean,
Kansas City.
Steelers, Baltimore again, Steelers, City. It's brutal. Cincinnati's in there again. Yep. Miami. Brutal.
You guys got to watch yesterday's episode. I had to try and I was going to be the optimist, and it was tough. I think Blake was going to fall out of his seat after I said 5-3. And I was like, I'm not guaranteeing any of this. This is me pie in the sky, just saying that, hey, you know what? We regain our form from last year, and we're going to, get one big 49ers win against, the Chiefs. And we're going to beat the Steelers. We're going to split with the Steelers. We're going to split with the Bengals. So they already got us, so we got to get them. And we beat the Saints. And then there was another one. We freeze out the fish. They just freeze to death and don't show up. And that's the best I could do to be positive.
That's not bad.
No, I appreciate the positivity.
This is more positive than the lineman lately. Maryland.
I mean, if we're going to do something like that, Kenny, first of all, I wouldn't bet on it. But if we're going to do it, it's going to be on the back of Jameis Winston. Like, he's got to play the way he did against the Ravens. That's got to be the offense we see. If we see anything even close to what we saw against the Chargers, we might not win any games from here on out. Right. So it has got to be what we did. What's that?
If you watch the game tape, he is just too hesitant against the Chargers. Yeah. I don't know what it was that he was so gun shy. He was so confident against the Ravens. He was firing the ball down the field, and he ended up being Charlie check down in the game against the Chargers. I know Ken Dorsey's a little tough to listen to on his press conferences, but he's right. He's just got to trust his eyes and let it rip.
Yeah.
And if he does that, I think we got a good chance to win.
This episode is sponsored by Manly Bands. Dog Pack, it's hard to believe, but the holiday season is here. Ladies, treat your men, and men, how about treating yourselves? Manly Bands is having an early Black Friday sale, 30% off site-wide, plus you get an additional 25% off when you use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, when you check out. But don't wait, this sale will be ending soon. Guys, if you're getting married soon, you need a wedding band, or if you've been thinking about replacing or getting a second wedding band, Manly Bands is the best place to find bands made for men. Now, they've got your standard gold and white gold bands, but guys, they have some very unique materials and collections to choose from. Tungsten, tantalum, titanium, carbon fiber, even materials like meteorite, antler, and dinosaur bone. Yes, the bands are actually made from dinosaur fossils. They have rings made from Jack Daniel's whiskey barrels. They have a Fender guitar collection, a DC Comics collection, Lord of the Rings. There is so much to see. You just have to go to manlybands.com and use promo code DAWGS for 25% off your order. Manly Bands will send you a free ring size guide if you're unsure of which size you need, and every Manly Band comes shipped with a free silicone band so you can swap it out whenever you're working or playing hard. But don't wait, the early Black Friday sale won't last long. Get 30% off site-wide right now, plus an additional 25% off with code DAWGS, DAWGS at manlybands.com.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why, when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them, the right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Let's get Tony up here. He's got his hand up. It's time to start hearing from you guys. So, Tony, first of all, Tony, awesome meeting you up in Cleveland. What was that? 2 weekends ago. That was a great time.
It was a great time.
What a great time that was. It's such a blast. I'm looking for a place in my man cave to put that picture of all of us down here somewhere. So,
yeah, absolutely.
I like that.
That's something I hope we keep a tradition of going, because that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure, man.
But just to comment on you guys, like, I'm going to stay with the optimism. With this bye week, I've been so checked out of Browns football. I've not been paying attention. Like, it's actually kind of been a stress reliever in my life to not focus on it. But the comment on Kenny's optimism a little bit, in order for us to even be able to do that, I know he brought up a good example of the San Francisco game last year. And a big example is that our defense getting turnovers and takeaways. And that is, if we're going to, go on some, run like that where we pull out a few more wins that we thought this season, where we kind of feel like, okay, maybe next season we can actually go in, pick up a few pieces and start putting stuff together, our defense needs to start taking away the ball. I mean, that's just the solid fact of it. If they can't get a takeaway, and I hate saying this, I don't think there's one more game that we can win this year unless our defense can figure out a way to take the ball. Because if they're not going to take the ball away from Derek Carr is just going to keep throwing it downfield until he gets one of his guys to catch it for a touchdown. And that we just got to rely on our offense, which that's kind of hard to do.
Absolutely. I know.
Yeah,
go Kenny.
We only have JOK as the guy that has an interception. I was saying and speaking with Blake yesterday on the program, I've heard all season from Schwartz at how good the secondary is, and they just haven't showed up on game day. So he's not saying that they're good this year? Are you saying they should be good and they're not performing to where they should be? That being said, I mean, we know that Ward has 12 defensive passes that have been defensed, and he's got to turn some of those into some INTs. And I believe in him, and I think he can. He's having a hell of a year. Emerson's just got to wake up, and Newsome's got to pull some in too. These guys can do it. I mean, Grant Delpit can rob down on somebody. They can definitely do this. But it's like you said, the biggest thing that helped them out last year that they're not getting on the defensive side is those turnovers. And boy, oh boy, would our offense love a short field.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Tony, I'm going to tell you, man, that weekend, one of the best weekends I've had in about 2 months. I had no stress. I was happy. Watched competitive football all day. You know, but I think you made a great point there. I was trying to see how many turnovers we had this year. I don't know if anybody has that off the top of their head. I just looked up last year's numbers, and we were at 28, which, I mean, you break that down, it's, you know, what, 1.5, 2, almost a game. I know we're not getting anything close to that. I bet we're probably at 5 or 6. I don't know if we have more than that, because I felt like there's a lot of games where we didn't have a turnover and we lost the turnover battle. But yeah, I mean, I was minus 7 for the turnover ratio. That's what I got.
We have five takeaways on defense.
That sounds about right. That sounds about where I thought we'd be at.
4 fumbles.
You're right. And Kenny even brought it up too. There's strength on the defense still. You know what I mean? Like that's pretty much damn near the same unit, if not what we thought was a more improved version of that unit last year, this year, and it's just kind of been depressing. And they like you said, no turnovers. You know, that's a huge difference from last year. But no, I'm still very on board. But this is like a game where, like, if you go and get blown out, like, well, it's very hard to defend them right now. And you can't lose this game, and then you can't lose this game bad and ugly.
I mean, they have the series, like, in the all-time NFL history. The Browns lead the series 13-6. For whatever reason, in my lifetime, I've not seen a lot of wins anywhere except New Orleans. I remember usually when we go down there, we either play them well or we beat them. And the New Orleans Saints were the first win of the reboot of this franchise in 1999 on a Hail Mary from Tim Couch. So, I mean, we have history on our side. We should still have the better roster, even though we haven't played like it. But, I mean, you're talking about two teams that are 2-7 and 3-7. And then there's an interesting fact. I don't know if anyone's going to bring it up in the audience, but I'll bring it up now. What do you guys think? Where do you think the advantage is for the Browns or the Saints? So they have Joe Woods. We have what we know of Joe Woods. And they can kind of go each other. So is this going to be like a 6-3 game? Or is this going to be like a wild 54-50 game? You know, I don't know how it's going to break down.
Yeah, I would almost wager it's going to be a little more high scoring, you know, for both sides. With the deep shots that, you know, the Saints like to take. And if our offense can hum somewhat similar to the way it did against the Ravens, I mean, Jameis Winston played in New Orleans for a couple years. I mean, it's not like he's going into...
Well, that was my other point.
Yeah, he's not going into a place that he's unfamiliar with or anything. Like, he understands that stadium, the dome, the crowd. Like, it's not that that's a huge thing, but at the same time, it's not nothing, you know, so... Well, go ahead.
Just to touch on what Kenny was going to say, what Kenny was saying about the whole Joe Woods thing. I listened to a little soundbite earlier with Joel Bitonio. They were interviewing him and talking about, you know, like, after watching film of the Saints, you know, last 8-9 games, you know, does it look the same? And he said, basically said there's little differences, but, you know, you still see some of the things that you like to do. So there is some familiarity there. And, you know, I mean, they lined up against each other for 3 years, but I don't think it's the exact same, you know, shit defense. At least I hope so.
I would hate.
Well, I mean,
I just say I would hate to go down there and get whooped by a Joe Woods defense after how much we trashed Joe Woods when he was here.
Sure. Sure.
I know.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't even want to think about it, man. I mean, the problem with the Saints is we're 4-1 against Derek Carr. We've only beat him once time in his career. So he needs to be handed another loss. And like we got to stack up the defense, stop Alvin Kamara, and just get it done. Just win one for your fans, boys. Win one for your fans.
Absolutely. Hey, speaking of the fans, does anybody else want to jump up on stage? Give us your thoughts, opinions, questions, or anything about the game, or honestly anything else about the Browns that's going on right now. I know we're coming out of the bye week. One thing I did want to mention while we're waiting for hands to come up, this is an interesting situation for the Browns because they play Sunday at 1:00, and then win or lose, they got to get their mentality turned around real quick because then it's Steelers on Thursday night in a very short week. So, I don't know what we're going to be doing as far as preview episode for next week because we got reactions and then previews, then game, and then more reactions, and it's going to be nuts. And then we'll have another little mini bye week. But, it's going to be interesting to see how this team responds coming out of the bye with the first half of the season being so horrible. Do they come out with any fight, any heart, any grit? Can Kevin get these guys up to play? Or are they just kind of phoning it in and don't really care? I mean, we're going to find out Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, everything sounds good coming out of Berea. There's some odd vibes, but I mean, that was reported by Tony Grossi. So, I mean, I don't know. He didn't elaborate too much on what it was, other than he thinks that there's a number that they have to have for most people to keep their jobs. That being said, I mean, the way they play, I mean, I don't know how they're going to go. I just gave an optimistic view of what I thought. One thing, though, if no one's got a question, I got a question for you guys. So you take a look at the return game. And, I mean, we've done a ton to try and get this thing going. We had JoJo Nadson. We had the other kid. What was his Jakeem Delpit?
Jakeem Grant.
Delpit?
Yep.
Yeah. And so just the oddest thing, these guys would always blow their knees out just right in training camp. Like, it was really odd. And I'm thinking, let's get somebody that's fast there. Like, what about we call up Darius Toney? He's on the practice squad still. Like, do you think he would have some merit as just a returner? Because, I mean, I don't know. We spoke about this a little bit yesterday with Blake. I mean, we know they really can't catch. He's not there unless you're going to be doing wide receiver screens or something. But use him like an Oz-Hakeem or something way back in the day with Kurt Warner. Use that speed to your advantage. He's a 4.37 guy, man.
So this is just my thought on Darius Toney, and I don't know what the situation is. I know he's been on the practice squad for 5-6 weeks now. My thing is, if you're still on the practice squad 5 or 6 weeks, whether you were brought in that or whatever it was, but if you're not getting called up yet, man, I don't know what kind of impact you can have for us. I understand what you mean. Trust me, I get the question. I guess my answer is hell no. I don't think there's anything special there. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking shit. I just, they've looked for an answer. You know what I mean? They went the Darden. They went the, Strong. They rotated multiple different giants, brought in guys, brought in Hines, they're trying to find an answer to this. But the fact that he's still on the practice squad and hasn't been elevated, even if it was just for that role, it's not very convincing.
Yeah, I mean, for the return game, I'd be interested to see what he can do, I guess, if they think he has something. Like, I agree with Justin 100%.
Right.
If they're not doing it by now, they must realize, I don't think there's much here to go with.
Off, yeah.
Yeah, especially coming out of the bye when you had a chance to make some adjustments and things like that. The thing that I want to see more of Jamari Thrash. You guys talked about that on the other episode. We've seen Cedric Tillman. I want to see him continue. But I need to see what else we have in that receiving core going into the future. And the big piece of that is Jamari Thrash. I mean, we already know Judy's locked up. We kind of know what we have in Judy. He's a good, not great receiver. He's okay. He can get the job done. Cedric Tillman is still the variable. Like, he could be great. We don't know yet. He looks like he could be. But maybe he's just good. I don't know. What is Thrash? We have no idea, but he was our 5th round pick this year. Let's get him out there and see what he can do.
I don't know if you guys saw, but I mean, Randy Moss said that Cedric Tillman was one of the best receivers prospects to come out in 5 years.
Yeah, he liked him.
That's a pretty good thing to come from Randy Moss. And then you obviously mentioned Thrash. I mean, he was huge on Steve Smith Sr.'s list, which ironically we're playing the guy that Steve Smith Sr. didn't like the most, Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, that is true.
That's fair.
We'll get Tony up here again. Kenny, real quick, I just wanted, while he's coming up, I wanted to back to what you said a second ago about Grossi saying the vibes were weird. Is that what you said coming out of Berea?
Or she said there was a weird vibe.
Weird
in
vibe.
Berea, yeah.
I just wanted to comment on that and say the vibes have been weird ever since the off season. Do you guys agree? Like training camp, everything it just has felt weird. And here we go. It just continues through the whole season. Now we're getting more reports during the bye week. Weird vibes. I mean, it's just like, I don't know what they're doing. It is weird.
Dude, we made an offense that's for Deshaun Watson, and really our feature was going to be Amari Cooper. And at the beginning of the year, we're talking about trading him, and then he's holding out, and then he doesn't show up for camp, and then we finally trade him. It was the most ridiculous thing. And there's just the most bizarre stuff that's kind of happened this year. And I mean, even the way it went down for Deshaun, you have him, he can't do anything, and he ends up blowing his Achilles, gets booed out. Like, you can't write that stuff. Like, that's like, you know what I mean? Like, I could fathom that in a million years. It's bizarre.
What I will say is, I'm not shocked at all. I feel like this is my entire life.
Yeah.
I feel like I keep living the same weird episode over and over and over again every season. Or one year I'm going, well, hell, you know, the defense is a little better. We're going to give somebody a run for the money next year. And then the next year I'm like, man, defense looks good. The offense is dog crap. We get this offense figured out. We're going to give somebody a run for their money next year. And I'm still waiting for us to give somebody a run for their money. I want us to, you know, just figure it out. But no, I know what you mean, man. It was weird. I guess the positive stuff that I'll take out of, like, even the Amari Cooper thing, right? So Amari Cooper gets traded. Give Cedric Tillman an increased opportunity, a different look. Now we think maybe there's something there. You know what I mean? And I think there's a lot of young guys that probably weren't going to get an opportunity to maybe step into a role if stuff like that happens. Now, like, obviously the trade window is done, so Jamari Thrash, unless there's an injury or something like that, probably not going to see a ton of him. But depending on what happens Sunday, why not let some of these young guys see what you have? You know, don't wait for the injury. You know, or just try some stuff out. See what you have. Evaluate your talent.
Yeah, I mean, unless like they are really seriously considering whether or not they want to re-sign Elijah Moore. If you know you're not bringing him back next year, I mean, let's see some Thrash. But we got Tony up here. So, Tony, what you got for us, man?
So the comment on what you guys were just talking about, conspiracy theory, there's going to be a documentary that comes out in 10 years, and it's going to explain why Haslam paid out all the guaranteed money to all the players this past offseason, because he basically told them this is Deshaun Watson's offense, and everyone knew that he was bad, even though they support him as much as possible. And they said the only way we're going to stay if you pay us our money, so that's the reason why they did. But besides the point. But the comment on Elijah Moore, too, I think he's actually a way better than we think that he has shown. I think if you actually put a solid offense around him, I talked about this when we were at the bar with all you guys at the show, that I think he's actually a way better wide receiver than we think. I think he could be a legitimate number 2 kind of slot guy. I know he doesn't have the speed that we want him to have in that position, but I think he'd be really good. I'd like to see him back, but that's just me. But to get to my point anyways, just want to talk about those two things real quick. Is some positivity at least going to this week, because I know it's kind of it's 5 o'clock and it's pitch black and it's just dreary and depressing weather now. Some positivity is I think we can go win this game. And it's going to be a loaded Nick Chubb. I think with him having basically all of last week off with his bye week, he's getting back normal. I'm not going to say he's going to have that, half a step speed that he used to have, but he can at least still see a hole and get 3-4 yards, right? I'm not going to say he's going to run for 100 yards, but I'm going to say he's going to be consistent enough where we can go into a third and manageable, and if all we're doing is running checkdowns, that checkdown is still going to get us the first down, and eventually lead us down to hopefully score. And then going into Thursday is going to be the real Nick Chubb comeback game. It's the game. It's the team he got injured to. It's the team that everyone in this city hates more than anything with a passion. And we can go in and upset Pittsburgh at home. But that's some positivity that I think is going to come in. But it's all going to revolve around have had a successful offense, even back when Baker was our quarterback, is running Nick Chubb. Hopefully he can carry the ball 20-some times, because if he's able to do that, I think this offense could be flowing and be able to come out and win these next two games, even on a short week next week.
I mean, if Nick Chubb's going to get it going and have a big game, excuse me, it'll be this one, because the breakout game for him this year, it's got to be against the Saints, because they're giving it up on the ground. I mean, the Steelers, they're good defense. Yep. So for him to continue that success, he's got to first have it here against the Saints. But I agree with you. I mean, we got to get back to the run game. I would love to just see us get back to Kevin Stefanski's offense. I am so out on whatever this crap is that we've been trying to do this year. I'm done. I'm done with it. It's terrible.
It's just so inconsistent. You don't even know what it is. You don't even know the identity. We don't even know the identity of what we're trying to do.
No.
I've heard
never watched a team and just been like, what are we trying to do here? Other than, you know what I mean? Like,
yep.
It's mind-boggling.
I was just on the phone with my buddy. He said the exact same thing 2 days ago. Todd's like, what are we doing on offense? I'm like,
I don't know, man.
Well, and that's what half the players are doing half the time. They're shrugging their shoulders, rolling their eyes, like, I don't know what we're doing. And it's just like, this whole thing was a mess. I mean, they tried to concoct some great offense around Deshaun Watson. Ken, I like what you said earlier. Built this offense around Deshaun Watson. He can't run it. Now he's not even here. Let's feature Amari Cooper as that number one. He's not here. He couldn't do it anyway. He was dropping passes. What are we left with? And we're trying to, plug people into positions in an offense that's not designed for it. Oh gosh, it's a mess.
Then we take the offensive coordinator and make him do it with Winston, where we know it would be way better if Stefanski was running it. Man, I have no idea, dude. It's crazy.
It is. I mean, I do like Kevin not calling plays, not because nothing against Kevin's play calling. I think the team plays a cleaner game on offense when he's in the CEO role. Fewer penalties. They're getting lined up on time in the correct spots. I mean, we don't have the confusion like we were the first, 7 weeks where everybody's looking at each other like, I don't know where we're supposed to be lined up. We only got 5 seconds left on the clock. I feel like he can manage the game a lot better when somebody else is phoning in the plays. I like that. This episode is brought to you by Bodden Sports. Browns fans, Bodden Sports is your one-stop shop for all your athletic gear. Bodden started out perfecting and manufacturing the best balls in the business. Yeah, if that sounded dirty, that's more about your mind than my words. But hey, it's true. Baseballs, softballs, footballs, basketballs, volleyballs, soccer balls, you name it, and Bodden has engineered the highest standard sports balls available. And now they offer more than just sports balls. If you got kids playing baseball or softball, Bodden has batting gloves and bats to go along with both game balls and training balls. If you're into basketball, Bodden makes basketball specifically for indoor or outdoor use. Heck, Bodden even has all the equipment you need for pickleball, which is one sport that I hear everyone is playing, and yet I still never have. And I need to fix that soon. But don't miss the backyard game section of Bodden's website, where you can order everything you need for this upcoming outdoor season. Pool balls, backyard volleyball nets, croquet, bocce, horseshoes, cornhole, and more. Right now, you can get 10% off your entire order at Bodden Sports, BADEN sports.com/dogs, DAWGS, and use promo code DOGS when you check out. That's 10% off all the top quality sporting gear you need this season. BoddenSports.com/dogs.
It's bizarre. I mean, it's been bizarre since Deshaun's been here. I mean, it's just the offense has never seemed to really flow with him. And now we know, he can never read a defense, and we thought it would get better here. It hasn't. I mean, I think one of the biggest signs, I'm just looking through all the players that played with Deshaun. I mean, other than Akins, nobody has decided to come and say, hey, I can't wait to play with Deshaun Watson. Hopkins never came back. I mean, I think Miller was a little bit long in the tooth to come back. He was his like deep shot guy. Then they took Brandon Cooks, who's still kicking around. He never said, "Hey, I want to play with Deshaun Watson." You know what I mean? So there's all these receivers that played with him that just don't materialize to come back and want to play with him. And I think it's just a sign that they know he can't read a defense, and he was lucky with the yards. I'm not saying he's lucky because he got it done. He's just not going to bring them to the next level where they want to be, let's say.
I don't hate that point. I mean, you have seen other receivers. I mean, Devontae Adams is a prime one. He followed Derek Carr. He liked Derek Carr so much he went to Vegas, which was a crap hole. And then he liked Aaron Rodgers so much he went to New York, which is another bad situation. So I mean, you do see these things kind of happen from time to time. So I think there's a little bit of that. I don't think you're totally off base. Let's get Truth up here, and then if anybody else wants to get on stage before we wrap this thing up, get your hands up.
What's up?
What's up, buddy?
What's up, my man?
What up? I just woke up from a nap. So, anyways, we're getting in the cold, all day is
Oh yeah,
take a lot out of it. That's why we need a dome. Anyways, so we're going to New Orleans, right? Are we playing the normal time for New Orleans? Is it a evening game or what?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. 1 o'clock. Okay. Well, we're playing in a dome, so we don't have to worry about weather. So that's a plus. I hope James Winston went to Lens Crafters to get his eyes checked so he can see who he's passing to. Because obviously he likes to pass to the team in the other jerseys a lot. I'm just happy we're back to a week of depression again. I'm hoping for better things. The bye week was good for all of us mentally to get away from the Browns for a little bit. But also, at the other side of things, seeing other teams that either have beaten us or are supposed to be worse than us beat teams that are better than them, and we're still looking like, I don't know, a high school offense out there not knowing what to do. It was good that Jameis showed up the one game, but then, like we said, you could have good Jameis, or you could have Jameis that needs to go back on the bench. Which one will get Sunday? Who knows? Hopefully the bye week got him better collected, but Ken Dorsey's words of advice for Jameis are not a good sign. Hopefully we can run the ball more. Hopefully some of the defensive guys that needed to heal up have healed up, so maybe the defense will be a little better. I don't know. I think this game is going to come down to a field goal kick. Then maybe we'll win, maybe we won't, but it's kind of up in the air, in my opinion. It's hard to trust anything this team does currently, and that's just where I'm at.
Fair enough. Tony, where are you? We got to get Tony back up on stage because Tony's got to drown all that negativity Brad just brought, because Tony had all the optimism. Brad, you're dragging us down, my man. No, I know you just got on here. We've kind of been saying it the whole time. Like, how many more games we winning this year? I don't know.
Yeah, I would say at maximum we maybe could edge out 4 more wins. Maybe 4.
You and Kenny.
One of those wins. One of those wins might be
coming on the Kenny.
Yeah. Here, I'll do a real hot take. There's one win we could do just because we're the Browns, and it's a game we shouldn't ever win because of how good they are. But we beat Kansas City somehow.
I figured you'd say that.
I would say, man, it's gonna be the 49ers game this year.
49ers? Oh, okay. I can see that.
It's going to be the 49ers type game.
The Chiefs are...
Yeah, it'll be it's like a tough, defensive, close game, and we edge it out.
Yeah. They're undefeated, but I'm telling you right now, not because they're steamrolling people, because the other teams just cannot find a way to win in the end. I mean, the Broncos had them. They had them.
Yeah.
And
they
then
did.
somehow they just blocked that field goal and they win the game. And it's like, oh my gosh, of course.
I mean, they barely got out of the Raiders game.
Yeah.
The Raiders were playing like garbage that whole game.
Yeah.
It goes back to our defense just happen to show up. They happen to get those INTs or fumbles or whatever turnovers that they can get. We get a lot of short fields, and I mean, it's tough to say the Chiefs are beatable, but every team's in it every game with those guys pretty much. So I mean, like, why not us in it at the end too? You know what I mean? It just, you got to have Jameis on the right, set up 4, or the right number of 4, 3 TDs and 1 interception. You don't need the 2 and 2, and you definitely don't need the 0 and 4 or the 1 and 3. You know what I mean? That's what you got to have.
Yeah, I mean,
so Nick Chubb touchdown, Njoku touchdown, a couple field goals, and Browns win 24-21.
I think you're leaving out some points if you're only going 24 with 3 touchdowns and a couple field goals, my friend.
Well, I don't know. Safety. This was safety in there too.
The field goals are
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I mean, I will say this, Brad, we love you, buddy. Oh, man.
Hell yeah. All right, relevant.
With Jameis, he's started 2 games now, one that ended really well, one that ended really poorly. But if you think about it, like that first game against the Ravens, he had like 3 passes that should have been picked, or 2 that could have, 1 that definitely should have, and it would have ended the game. We probably have a little bit different conversation about the good Jameis versus bad Jameis. Maybe it's just Jameis. And if the opposing defense can come away with the picks, that's it. We're kind of hosed. But, that's why our defense, like you said, Kenny, we got to start coming away with our own interceptions and turnovers when we have the opportunity. We get the ball in our hands so many times, and it's like we drop it. Clear interceptions, and we just can't come away with it.
Dude, it's there. Like you said, it's there, and it can happen. They just got to make it happen. And other than that, you see anything gimmicky? Because, I mean, if I'm really reaching for some answers, am I using like DTR on some like Wildcat style things? And what I'm getting at is when the Steelers, after they had O'Donnell leave, they had another guy, quarterback, and I can't remember, but he was really good at getting the ball in between the 20s, but they'd struggle down in the goal line. So they're bringing Cordell Stewart. He would run around, and he would either run it in or toss it or whatever. It's kind of like Michael Vick before Michael Vick, Cordell Stewart. And I've seen other teams do that, where it's like you kind of use a guy, an instance, to get like a little bit of a spark, get that guy a little bit of confidence, and then maybe all of a sudden you have DTR playing at the end of the year. Now, I'm not saying this is realistic. This is just like me spitballing ideas for a good win and a run. Because, I mean, even in the 20, let's say 2009, 2010, 2011, there was a time where we were 1-11. We actually finished on a 4 or 5 game win streak because they ran the Wildcat with Josh Cribbs, right? I'm not saying that DTR is Josh Cribbs, but there's got to be something that we can do to have some kind of hope here.
So just one last thing with that, Kenny. Depending on how things go the rest of the season, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw DTR to see what we have. I might even be crazy enough to say I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some Bailey Zappi down the road. You know what I mean? I mean, just to see what you have in these guys. If we're talking about we're stuck at 2 wins and it's week 16, 17, 18, and, I guess what's the point of still rolling Jameis out there, right? At that point, you got to see what you have in DTR. I mean, if DTR goes out, hell, see what you have in Bailey Zappi. I mean, he torched us in Cleveland. I know that was just a one-off and that was a one-game deal and that was a Joe Woods defense, but, maybe depending on how bad things go, maybe we see what we have in everybody.
Yeah, you could definitely see that.
I think if Bailey Zappi comes out, we're not having GM's gone, everybody's gone.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't think we might not be that far from that, which is crazy to me. You know what I mean? We're pretty close. I think we're close to that point, which is, you're talking about a 2-time coach of the year, that his team looks increasingly hot every day.
I get it, man. I'm throwing some wild ideas out there, but I'm just not sure what to expect because we've been shown nothing.
Yeah, it just sucks coming into a season where, we did shows before the season started saying, well, what's everybody's expectation and what constitutes a successful season for you guys? And for everybody, it was like at least a playoff win, if not two. And now we're sitting here going, we might fire everybody because we suck. We might have the number one overall
We can just
pick.
win a damn game.
Yeah. So it is
can't
crazy
do
how
diddly
far.
poo. Remember that?
Yeah, we have fallen from the expectations. But is there any last things you guys want to get out about the Saints game before we wrap it up?
And just win. Just win, and you'll feel better going into the Steelers game. Come away with something positive. Like whatever the expectation is going forward, we all have expectations for these 8 games. I mean, speaking with Blake, speaking with you guys, like it's super low, 1 win, right? As like me, I got to see more because I'm a Browns backers, Prez. I need people to come in, sit down, and hang out with me, man. And I can't sell them what they're showing, right? So sell me, what is he saying, Gladiator? Entertain me. Entertain me. Come on, let's do it. There's a little fun for Gladiator too.
Oh yeah, baby. Yeah, that's right. That is coming out soon. Justin, you got anything?
Nah, I'm all good, man. I thought we got most of that out.
All right. Well, it was good to see everybody here coming out of the bye week again. I got to wrap this up because I'm barely hanging on. I'm about ready to cough and hack, and I'm sweating bullets. It's not been a good week, but I'm going to get better over the weekend. We're going to do a reaction show on Monday live. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to feel better. The Browns, we're going to have a victory Monday. How's that?
Yeah, let's freaking do it, man. Let's go, Browns.
Please.
Shoot me up, coach. Let's go.
Just give us a watchable game for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Nothing worse than sitting there for 3 hours going away like, why did I do that? But
yeah.
All right. Well, everybody tuning in and the audience here, we appreciate you guys. You guys make the show happen. To everybody watching, listening, thank you. Make sure you guys subscribe on YouTube. Tap that notification bell so you don't miss any of the new stuff. Justin, I guess we'll talk maybe a little bit afterward. I don't know. We might be doing a pregame live on Sunday. I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe, So anyway, tap the notification bell in case we do go live.
I should talk to my boss.
Yeah, talk to your boss to see what's going on. But if we do go live Sunday before the game in the studio, you want the notification bell tapped so you don't miss it because it will be unannounced. It'll be on a whim, and we do it. So
it might be early. Might be very early in the morning.
It could be very early. We've got another thing.
Yeah.
We got other stuff going on in the morning. We're going to interview Greg Pruitt Sunday with the Tuscarawas County Browns backers. And that show will come out sometime next week. I'm not sure when. Next week's a busy one with the 2 games in 1 week. But until we talk to you guys on Monday, let's go Browns. Everybody have a good weekend. Go Cavs. And positive thoughts is about all we can do.
Let's go, Browns.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at the Dogs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedogspodcast.com.
This episode is brought to you by Danger Coffee. Browns fans, we talk about how Danger Coffee is made free from mold toxins that are in 45% of the world's coffee, but that's not all that Danger Coffee has to offer. Mineral and nutrient deficiencies are a big deal. They make you feel sick, tired, stressed, and they can give you brain fog. These deficiencies negatively affect your immune system, your digestion, sleep, metabolism. Have you ever wondered why you get an initial burst from your coffee, but then you get that little crash not long after? Danger Coffee's patent-pending process remineralizes your body with more than 50 trace minerals and electrolytes, leaving you more energized, engaged, powerful. These micronutrients enter the cells to boost performance. They bind to toxins to provide detoxification support. I know that sounds like a lot, but the bottom line, guys, is minerals matter, and most of us really don't get enough of them on a daily basis. Danger Coffee delivers micronutrients, plus it gives you access to the minerals you already have. Head to dangercoffee.com, use our code DAWGS, DAWGS, for 10% off your order. And that code can be used over and over. So you get 10% off every order you make using code DAWGS. It's time to start every day off with a cup of coffee that gets you going and actually keeps you going. dangercoffee.com, code DAWGS.
Build up to Black Friday with savings all month long at Lowe's. Get up to 50% off select major appliances, plus take an additional 10% off when you buy select major appliances. And don't wait to pick up holiday inflatables under $20. Don't wait to save, in-store or online now, because Lowe's knows deals. Valid 11/6 through 12/4. Cannot be combined with additional discounts. See Lowe's.com for details and qualifying items while supplies last.